Hey again, everyone. Thank you for joining me. There are a lot of people making a lot of content out there, so if you're spending your time with me, it is much appreciated. Continuing on from the content that I put out yesterday, Saturday, and I answered a question for Smokey Bear, and there was another question, probably the most important question, the crux of when I finally realized 100% the depth of depravity and evil of the narcopaths that I had the misfortune to be around. And this question was from John, and I'm going to talk about I'm going to see if I can make it through this. See if I can make it through this one without doing any editing. I'm about to read something cold that I haven't read for about 5 or 6 years regarding being poisoned by the narcopath. It's an absolute real deal. These entities, these beings, these humanoids are very, very dangerous. I left you with something yesterday about spirituality, and that we are, hopefully, you would assume, as I do, that we are spiritual beings as well as human. Not so with the narcopath. If you have nothing to look forward to after this life or the next, or if you don't think that there's any cause and effect, or if there's some sort of punishment for your crimes, you're probably willing to do anything. And it really escaped me that one time the narcopath, before I get to this, one time the narcopath that I'm speaking of said the strangest thing, that they were jealous that, and they literally said the word, that they were jealous that I had a belief system, that they simply could not believe that there was anything else. And I just thought that was the strangest thing that I'd ever heard. Again, it's a huge red flag. If someone thinks that there's no cause and effect or consequences for actions, they're likely to do anything to get what they want. So, with that being said, I believe that this narcopath and her mother plotted to take my life at one point in time. Actually, more points in time than one, but one was particularly around the same era that I was chatting about yesterday. And they thought that I wouldn't figure it out, and for a long time I didn't. I was just not paying attention. So, with that being said, there were several people who were around me when the narcopath started their strip mining of my life, and the discard and all the nastiness that goes along with it. And I would tell them how things were, and I would tell them stories and incidences, and across the board they would say, "Hey, she tried to kill you. She poisoned you." And at first I I just I couldn't see that was, I didn't deny it. What's the word? I just couldn't believe that something like that was true. But as I continued to sound off on friends that were people that were close to me, and they began to tell me this same thing over and over, I finally began to consider it. And I'll never forget, I was driving back into town from a job that I was doing, and it hit me like a ton of bricks: means, motive, and opportunity. And that's not just a little thing you see on TV. The means, being able to do it; the motive, the want, and the opportunity. If you are close to one of these narcopaths, then there's plenty of opportunity. And I'm convinced now that there were many times that substances were put in my food to destroy me. At one point in time, I even mentioned to the narcopath that this certain virus or this certain illness was traveling from house to house with us because we'd moved several times in a few years, and for some reason I continued to pick up this bug, and I never could figure out what it was. At one point in time, I became a compulsive hand washer, and I know that sounds funny, but I wouldn't shake anyone's hand. I wouldn't touch anything because I was convinced that somehow I was contracting these flu bugs, which is what it felt like much of the time, through contact of something. So anyway, that's that's just part of the story. So I'll continue. There were also several times where I would go into the kitchen if on the rare occasion that she had made dinner, and there were 2 plates on the countertop, and I took one and I sat down, and she said, "That's the wrong one," and they looked exactly the same. How could it be the wrong one? And I watched her pick through the plate of food, and then I watched her throw the entire thing away. Same thing with some other instances too that I'm not recalling right now, that maybe I will. So anyway, about 5 or 6 years ago, this is literally 10, 12 years ago, when I had, clued into what they were trying to do to me. It's very real, folks. If John and the people that are watching this, if you think that you're being poisoned, for God's sake, go no contact. For God's sake, contact law enforcement. I did, and the police did nothing because I was still alive. So I guess that's a good thing. But they did not investigate. I did talk to a crimes against person detective downtown. She quietly shut the door, listened to my story, and told me 100% everything that I had told her she believes. That she has seen this, and she's seen it many, many times. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but fortunately, depends on how you look at it, I was alive, so no investigation was made. There's a few people around these 2 narcopaths that I am not convinced that they didn't have something to do with their untimely deaths. And if y'all are still watching my channel, do you think I wouldn't figure it out finally? So anyway, about 5 or 6 years ago, there was and I really like her, there's a gal named Kim Saeed, and she has a big channels, and I know she's a professional. I don't know what her credentials are, but she's very, very good, and she asks for some stories about specifically for men who had been abused by narcopaths. Now look, I know this can include physical abuse, but if she's beating you up, and maybe you need to go to the gym, it's the abuse isn't always. I'm not trying to make light of these situations, but and I know it happens too. I've had a female slap the hell out of me, and I'll tell you what, it ain't gonna happen again. Because anyway, so anyhow, my point is that abuse can happen. Financial abuse, obviously, putting substances in someone's food is abuse. This is something that you're going to put in your body to eat that keeps you alive, and they're going to try to destroy you with it. Nothing. I just can't think of anything this morning. Anyway, Kim Saeed published my story, and I shared it with her anonymously. And I actually did try to get in touch with her a few months ago, but she's very busy, and I haven't heard anything back. So I'm going to read this cold. I haven't read this literally in 5 or 6 years, and I may make some comments on it, and I may omit some things as I read. So just bear with me. This is actually the highlight of pretty much every reason why I started making this channel to begin with. So all right, this is by Anonymous. I was on the bed, and it was about to happen again. I had that sick sensation beginning in my torso, and then it would go upward. The sensation coursed up slowly, but up to my head, and then it would follow with hallucinations. I had lost over 20 pounds in 2 weeks, and the doctors could find nothing wrong. I would become violently sick at times, only to lie in bed and hallucinate other times. Still no diagnosis. The high-priced antibiotics, $500 $575 for 6 pills. This is a long time ago too. The high-priced antibiotics did nothing for my condition. They suspected food poisoning, but food poisoning does not last for 4 months. However, other poisoning can, such as a slow and deliberate poisoning. As I lay in bed, I could hear my then wife speaking with someone on the phone. She sounded really, really angry, and she did. She was, I don't know what they were arguing about exactly, but I was sick in bed. I couldn't get out, and they were arguing about something. And she should have been angry with, and I thought that she should be angry with me for being sick. This is how twisted up. See, this is the commentary. I really need to see this. I literally thought that she was angry with me because I was ill. That she should have been mad at me because I was sick. I genuinely thought that at the time. She would occasionally peer in the door. She would just look at me and then close it and then resume the argument with whom I didn't know. At the time, I suspected it was her mother, though now I recognize it was her boyfriend. I don't know which one it was, but it's got to be one of the two. Who, by the way, mysteriously, I told you all this yesterday, mysteriously died during our divorce proceedings several years later. Did he know too much? We will never know. It's strange how this 30-something-year-old healthy man died in the middle of our divorce, not to mention several other men who were involved in some way. Oh, and the pets. I forgot. The dead pets. We would have, dead for no reason whatsoever. Pet dogs and cats would end up just dead. I don't know why. And then, of course, she would just go get another one. It was very strange. So this was still not my wake-up call to an insanely abusive relationship at the hands of the woman I thought cared about me. That would come later, much later. I mysteriously recovered, but still experience telltale symptoms to this day. Now, the symptoms, this has been 5 years ago, so this is actually 5 or 6 years prior, and I had issues for a while that just didn't make any sense. So anyway, this is only a tip of the lying iceberg. That's good. This is only the tip of the lying iceberg that I married. Yeah, man, the lying iceberg. That's pretty good. Anyway, I will characterize her in this way. She is never happy. She never smiled genuinely. She was impossible to get close to and never showed 1 ounce of gratitude, no matter how much I did for her. I told you all this. I actually made a video about the Friday where I'd gotten off work, and I go back and watch it. I made a little production about it, and I bought, flowers and, trying to get her to, show some signs of humanity. Anyway, as I sat in the perfect evening sun, I knew there was nothing she could complain about. It was all done. Nice home, thriving businesses, kids, but no, I was wrong. And I said, why can't you say something nice? Why can't you just say something nice? And she said, she wasn't going to kiss my ass, as I mentioned that already. And I say in this letter that this was my wake-up call. I finally realized that I'd wasted all of my time and about to be dragged through divorce court. At any man who's been with one of these women knows how devastating this can be as they tear everything apart that you worked for and divide it between the lawyers. And the gals, you all know this too. Anyway, so. But that's not how they view this. They actually love the interaction in court. I mentioned that as well. They relish the drama and the mess. It was apparent that she loved every minute of it. To go back a decade and a half, you would not know how this was going to happen. She at least pretended to care. She was the other half. We did many things together early on, but it seemed that there were certain things that were just off limits. So I questioned things that she had said to me that didn't make sense, only to meet with fits of crying. Like when someone's stories don't make sense and you question them on it and they begin to cry every time, there's something very, very wrong. So anyway, continuing. Most days were filled with silent treatments and punishments for what I didn't know. I was always compared to others that were supposedly better than me. It was ongoing. I was never ever. It just sucks. It's just a big insult. Living with a narcopath is just a daily insult. Y'all know this. So anyway, Later, all of my friends but one said that she used to give them snotty looks when I wasn't looking. And I guess that was her attempt to isolate me from people who cared about me. And it worked. A lot of times people just didn't come back around, almost without expectations. If I was introduced to someone that she already knew, they would be cool and standoffish. In other words, my reputation had preceded me. So, anyhow, lies, deception, put downs, veiled threats, and emotional terrorism. This is what I lived through for nearly 20 years. I did not know any better at the time. That's what I grew up in, and that's what I ended up marrying into. I thought eventually she would be happy, but being happy never works for the narcissist because it doesn't fit the script. But a dead husband with life insurance policy does. Not only would she benefit financially, just think of the sympathy that she would get to. Oh, your husband. Oh, and he was crazy. On top of that, he'd caused so many problems for you, and now he's dead. And I'm so sorry that you get a $500,000 life insurance policy and the house, and you get to move your boyfriend and your mom into the house. Oh, that's so terrible for you, right? Her bank account would be fat, and her lover would have to take over to help with the estate. Poor little waif. And he was so young. Speaking of me. But I ruined the plan. I didn't die. I don't know if she ran out of poison. I don't know if she gave up. To this day, I have a briefcase full of evidence that the investigators didn't want to see, and I pity the poor fellow she is with now. I would tell him, but he wouldn't believe me. Just don't even cross that bridge. Let that all play out the way it's supposed to, even if you've thought about it. Like everyone else, the narcissist know he's been co-opted into her drama. Now, that guy's been gone for a while. She got another one now, I understand. But anyway, besides, I would be the jilted ex-husband who just needed to get over it. Remember me talking about the get over it? So towards the end of the divorce, I had not even a chance to know what I did wrong. What did I do to deserve this kind of treatment? And she never told me except to say, literally, this was some of the last words. I didn't tell you, and now it's too late. It's crazy thinking. She did not tell me that she wanted to. Oh yeah, that was one. She said that she wanted to drive with the windows down and the radio loud. To me, this is also what happens when people watch too many movies. They script their life according to Thelma and Louise or something. And anyway, let me see where else. Anyway, in her shallow mind, that was reason enough. Who cares what anyone else wants? Who cares if they don't fit the narc's drama? I can tell you, the end began when I started asking for something, anything, just a kind word. Really, seriously, just say something nice. That's where I was twisting the wine glass out on the patio, and I said, can you just say something nice to me or about me? It was real strange how she treated me at the end. God, this is so strange to read this after this many years. It's as if she were mailing an envelope or making a phone call. It was just business, no emotion whatsoever, as she just went about destroying everything that meant anything to me. And I just get ready to end it with, thank God I finally woke up. It does get better. Today, I don't have nearly the panic attacks that I once had. I have no panic attacks now, and I am completely no contact. And with some other people too. I'm thankful that I have the rest of my life. The narcissists are genuinely evil. They will chew up your soul if you let them. Today I have no intention of letting anyone do anything like that to me ever again. I'm sane, I'm clear, and I am whole. Alright, so this is probably I would say the most shocking, the point of my story, of what I've been dealing with for the last several years. I wasn't able to talk about this with you. If they're still hanging around the channel, they're more than welcome to comment. I don't think they're going to, because it's going to out who they actually are and will divulge their identity, wouldn't it? So anyway, yeah, I watched her throw away plates of food. When I was sick in the bedroom, they got rid of the refrigerator in the kitchen. And I had to order one, and they told me it was broken. It wasn't broken. Someone was turning up the the thermostat on the inside of the refrigerator over again to make it look like it was broken. Eventually it finally did. I don't know if they did that. I'm sure that they did. And I had to receive the new refrigerator. It's literally 20 pounds lighter in 2 weeks. Barely able to move or get out of the bedroom. But that's, I was the slave of the house. So that's what I had to do. Not to mention there was, and I'll never forget it too. There was, and remember that her and her mother, they're in cahoots, and I remember her. She said that her mother had made some food for me, and they put it on the top shelf in the refrigerator, and which is odd. It is something that I liked. I'll tell you what it was. It was this little kind of bow tie pasta thing with some Italian dress, just a simple thing, something that I liked. But for some reason, she made a little container and put it in the top of the refrigerator, and I forgot to eat it. I don't know why. I was busy. I worked 2 jobs anyway, and they became angry that I did not eat it, and eventually threw it away. So there were a whole bunch of things that I simply didn't put together at the time. But if you're not feeling well, if you're getting around them and you're not, they're toxic anyway, figuratively, but they're literally toxic if they're putting poison in your food. So today I'm fine, and I'm very, very grateful for all the channels, for Kim Saeed, for Ollie Matthews, for Les Carter. There's a bunch of these fellas that Dad Surviving Divorce, Dwayne. These are all really, really good channels of people that I watched during this whole thing, and finally came out on the other side. And to think that I came very, very close to death with this monster, and they got away with it. They got away up till now with attempted murder, and I believe it 100% now. I wouldn't bullshit you on this. This is serious stuff. So anyway, all right. Well, I hope that answers your question. And again, I hope that was interesting. It sounds like it's going to be an interesting one. It was interesting for me because I haven't even read this for several years. So I really do appreciate y'all. Y'all have helped me sound off and get my head straight after dealing with just such devastating evil darkness. It just baffles me that someone can behave like that. Cause and effect is very, very real, and it never takes a day off. The closer you are to your spirit, the closer you are to your spiritual system, the more they're going to suffer. Trust me on this. We don't have to do a thing about it. It is coming their way. So anyway, all right. There you go. All right, I'm going to sign off now. I hope to see y'all again real soon. Thank you.